Hello guys, today is my birthday, I turned 53, and I have recently realized something that it was difficult to admit. For most of my adult life, I was not really building my own life. I was providing the money, the energy, effort, and the responsibility, but the direction was mostly decided by someone else. And for a long time, I thought that was what a good man was supposed to do. I thought man should put his family first and himself second, or maybe last or tenth, or perhaps not think about himself at all. But now I'm asking myself a little bit different question, because do I continue living in a way that is comfortable for everyone around me except myself, or do I finally begin to treat my own life as something that matters? For more than 20 years, I tried to be a good husband and good father. I worked, I provided, I tried to create stability, comfort for my wife, my children, and my own needs usually came last. But I didn't see this as a problem. I saw it as a responsibility. I believed family meant compromise, sacrifice, patience, and I still believe that. I don't regret taking care of my children. I don't think a man should abandon his family every time he feels uncomfortable. But I believe every sacrifice was a kind of investment. I believe that. It was like a goodwill. It was an investment in shared future. And I thought that if I gave something up for my family, then one day when I needed support, I needed understanding, room for my own decisions, that history would matter. And eventually I realized that the compromises were mostly moving in one direction. For example, I had hobbies, interests, plans of my own, but if they didn't produce an obvious benefit, immediate benefit for the family, they were often treated as immature, unserious, not masculine enough. Nobody had to tell me directly, you are just forbidden to do this, but pressure was quieter. You are made to feel that your interests are foolish and that your friends are idiots, that normal men don't behave like you, that something must be wrong with you if you want, something different, some different kind of life, not as your wife thinks it should be. I continue with my hobbies, but without joy. I began to feel, ashamed of enjoying them. And eventually I stopped. And the same thing happened with friends. My friends would invite us somewhere as a couple. My wife would refuse to go. And because she didn't go, I usually didn't go either. After a while, people simply stopped inviting us. And there was just no dramatic break. It was just friendship just faded. Today I have acquaintances from my different jobs, from different periods of my life, but I don't have, really don't have close friends. Because you see, a man can lose his own life through hundreds of small decisions. And each one looks unimportant, but together they change everything. I understood the deeper problem when my income, began to fall, and that when I began to feel that my value was connected almost entirely to my function as a provider. There were arguments, there were pressure to take absolutely any job. So I began to feel that I was not valuable as a person. I was valuable as long as I could pull the weight, like a workhorse. And the painful realization was not that my family expected me to earn money. I had accepted that responsibility. The painful realization was that I had built my whole identity about being useful, while the rest of me had become invisible. It would be easy to tell, the story that as if everything was done to me, I had no choice. It wouldn't be honest. I chose much of it. I believe a man's discomfort was not very important if his family was safe and comfortable. I believed keeping peace was more important than defending every personal desire. And while my children depended on me, living because I was unhappy did not feel like a real option. So I stayed, I adjusted, I accepted each sacrifice, because each one looked like a small price. Then one day I looked at the total cost. You see, my friends were gone, many of my interests were gone, my own plans were delayed for years, and I had become a supporting character in my own life. And the war didn't create this problem. We had problems with my wife long before I entered the army. The real turning point was the realization that I had spent most of my adult life implementing a project that was not really mine. The way my wife wanted to live was treated as normal, reasonable, and healthy. Any serious alternative was treated almost like a deviation, as if only a broken person could want something different. Whenever I tried to change direction, the criticism continued until I returned to the approved course. And I finally understood that I was not asking myself, what kind of life do I want? I was asking myself, how can I earn more money and make her version of life more comfortable? That had to change. My children are older now, they still need support, but they are no longer completely dependent on me. And because I serve in the Ukrainian military, I cannot fully believe that I have unlimited time. I don't know what the next stage of this war will bring. I don't know with certainty that I will survive every stage of it. And this is not dramatic language. This is just simply part of reality. So, army didn't cause the changes but it removed the illusion that I could delay it forever. Now I'm 53. That number matters to me, not because 53 is old, but because it is old enough to understand that time is not unlimited, and young enough to still do something with the time I have. I don't want to spend another 10 years in arguments, in suspicions, in resentment, and in gradual decline. So I have started changing things. I want to build something of my own project, something that reflects my ideas, my experience, my direction. I'm not trying to become a completely selfish man. I will continue supporting my children. I will continue fulfilling, the responsibilities that I believe are mine, but I will no longer treat myself according to leftover principle. I don't want to receive money, time, energy, and attention only after everyone else has been satisfied. I want to pay myself first, not only financially, but with time, with health, with effort, with ambition, and with the right to build something that matters to me. My greatest danger is not that I will suddenly decide my old life was wonderful. The danger is familiarity, the desire to return home and to live the life I know. Even though I know that this life does not satisfy me. And there is also guilt. I lived with this woman for more than 20 years. She's the mother of my children. I don't want to cause her pain. And because of that, it is easy to continue to confuse compassion with an obligation to return. And the first real proof that my new life has begun will not be a legal document, these divorce papers. It will be the moment when the old relationship stops pulling me back, simply because it is familiar. Part of the reason I'm creating this channel is that I need to say these things out loud. I want to document the transformation. Document it while it is still happening, not after I succeed, while I still can fail, while I can still turn back. And I want accountability. Once I say publicly what I'm trying to do, it becomes harder to quietly crawl back into the same life and pretend nothing happened. Maybe this will also be useful to another man, a man who lives like a workhorse, a man whose needs are always last, a man who is useful to everyone, but no longer knows what he himself wants, a man who still believes that this is simply normal. And foreigners sometimes imagine that Ukrainian families are purely patriarchal, that the man leads and the woman quietly follows. And reality can be much more complicated. Sometimes the man is a locomotive, he works, he earns, he carries the responsibility, but someone else decides where the train is going. A man may bring home all the money, but still have to ask permission to spend anything on himself from his wife. And that doesn't look like much like patriarchy to me. So, but this channel will not be about blaming all women. It will be about examining the roles we accept, the stories men tell themselves about what a good man is supposed to endure, what society tells them. And a few years ago, I had quietly written myself off. I thought my real life was mostly finished. I believe my remaining task was simply to live out the years while causing as little inconvenience as possible to everyone around me. To remain useful, to keep the peace, to avoid creating chaos. So I don't believe that anymore. Today, I'm turning 53. And I don't want my 53rd birthday to be just another birthday. I wanted to mark something. The point where I stopped asking how much of myself I was willing to sacrifice to preserve the life I already knew. And started asking what kind of life I actually want to build. Maybe I should have understood it earlier. Of course, it is better to begin earlier. Some doors do close with age. But regret is not a reason to continue making the same decision. I'm 53. I may have started late. I may still fail. I may still feel tempted to return to the life I know. But it is not over until it is over. Thank you. Have a nice day.